Hello, and here is a tailor-made for a character reference sheet of a character that I've designed long time ago. And this is actually the second character ref sheet I did for him, but this one is much better than before. The last one, I don't know. I look at it and I'm like the enemy's all kinds of fucked up. But anyway, um, so this one is Oh, and so this character started off with having like hips, like feminine hips, big birthing type hips. Not that big, but still noticeable enough to be like, oh, those are female hips. So, but this one, his body is, his shape is more masculine in the hip area, and straight down of sorts. So I'm pretty used to drawing this character where I don't really need a reference, really. Like the client could just be like, "Hey, do is," and I'd be like, "Okay, gotcha." And I really only use the character ref as for the color picking to make sure I got that exact. And so I really like drawing torsos. Like I've been doing this a lot for some reason, doing like a mild 3/4 view of sorts. But I I think I've been doing it a lot because the side that's close to the arm that's on the hip. So I feel the space between the pectoral and the rib, like showing the back muscle. I don't know. I mean, it looks fine right here, but somehow I think sometimes it just trips me up for some reason because I want to show that back muscle that connects in the back. But anyway, I forgot the names. Um, so and also this one, I usually do keep his hair tied up like that. It's like so the things that have been consistent with this character is his small nose, and Asian like eyes and the little hook eyebrows, and having his hair semi mohawk and a bun in the back to tie it up. So and with like sometimes bangs. Oh, and his tattoo. And so with this, I I think I changed it from before because it just wasn't looking right, and I just figured let it just match the front view, so it could flow a bit better. And so usually when I do back view, uh, I don't really make it exact. So I kind of do change the pose up of sorts, and I just get like the roundabout way of where things are. So I used like back in the day, I used to make it exact. So I've done it so many times. I guess I conditioned myself to be more comfortable with it, and so I can have the back view be different than the front view in terms of like the pose. And cause I already been through the motion, I know I could make it exact if I really wanted to, like make it an exact back view of the same front pose. Um, but anyway, but I'm over that. I know I can do it, so I could do something else now. And they also wanted fashion, and I really dig the fashion with this. Let me remember. I think they wanted Hun, like no, not until Hun. Like shit, I forgot. They're north of China usually. I think probably know what I'm talking about. But that type of culture influence on the coast, and so when people request cultures for the fashions, I try not to do it exact because that's boring. Um, So I try to do something that is clearly inspired by it, but one wouldn't say, "Oh, yeah, that's exactly a traditional type." So I always aim for the neo version of whatever, whatever, because it feels more fun, and I feel that's how these things evolve and how you make these new fashion trends and such. So, just bounce off of because we're always going to gather inspiration from what we've seen and etc. And then to mix it in with what we never seen before. I think now that I think about it, there's always a little bit of influence of whatever we've experienced, seen before that goes into these works. Well, for me anyway. So, like it's not like I've seen the exact thing before, but I get those inspirations from whatever I've seen or a mashup of things I've experienced and figuring out the in betweens of the things I've never seen is fun. So like a mix of that of what I've seen and what I've never seen. It's like and the first step to figure out what I've never seen is to figure out what I have seen. Sorry, it's a long explanation, but oh, and okay. So one of the things I really like about this is the boots. So the tassels there. So I didn't really look up this culture um, e- exactly to get inspiration. I just used my memory with this one for the most part, and I did recall the tassels, a lot of tassels in their traditional wears, and so I thought it would be cool to have them on the boots of sorts, and I really dig how this came out. And so the tassels on the boots is like a nod towards that. And I think I added some like pattern ish to the top of the foot area, and that's a nod to where the inspiration that the client input. So that's why I call it inspiration and not like this is the exact thing you want. So that's why I call it inspiration. That ties into what I mentioned just before. And so um, yeah, see the little lines. Those are like cloth like, and so even though I still consider these sketches because they're not exactly clean to me anyway. And they're not like precise. So, um, like there's still like lines that aren't as straight as it could be, and all these little things. Even though it may look it from this distance, but you see like little nicks here and there. So that's why I'm like, oh, it's still a sketch because it's still on a messy tip. And so also they wanted the close up of the eye, and I was just really trying something new here. I because my um, part of my goal with pretty much all is to create a balance, not just slap shit on or really nitty. So everything's about a balance. And oh, and so with the tailor made, with the character ref, you could have inserts like the eye, the zoom in inserts, and you have the color palette and the text that shows whatever you want, and a short text, not like long sentences, because I feel character references that have like all these long backstories and shit, and the ref is completely unnecessary because it's a visual thing. Like unless it's for like a comic and the person is using that character for like a comic, then sure, have that info. But if it's for a single illustration, for me anyway, like all that extra info like about their backstory and shit does not matter to me. Um, because it is just a sketch and I'm trying to get to it, quickly. So, yeah, so here's the nude, and I think the back shoulders could use a little tweaking, perhaps. But other than that, I still definitely dig this. This is done like ages ago, and I'm just not getting to the video because But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and please feel free to subscribe and place your own order for a tailor made. Everyone needs a character reference sheet.